Hi, I'm Wood, and I'm 18 years old. Do you have a good relationship with your parents? Were you pampered? I didn't have a carefree childhood, just housekeeping and endless part-time jobs. Watch the video to the end, and you will learn how my mother deliberately made my life difficult and how I lost my patience. I live in the suburbs. We have our own house and a small farm. Birds, a few animals, a vegetable garden, and an orchard. We fed ourselves enough for 3. Dad is almost never at home. He is always on the road transporting goods. It's a hard job, but it's the best he can do. My mother hasn't been able to get a job for years. And the house is a lot of trouble. The 2 of us barely have time. I help as much as I can, and I have better luck with my work. I've been working part-time since I was 14, delivering newspapers and doing all sorts of things. I was terribly tired and did not study well. But if I was out of work, my mother would just climb the wall with excitement and nag me without stopping. In short, we lived bored. So, the new neighbors became a huge event. They were nothing like us. Samuel worked as some kind of cool engineer. Susan did something with papers in the same big company, and their children were studying some kind of home program. They moved here because there was fresh air and pleasant silence, not because of the lack of money. Can you imagine? I've never seen them run out of energy. Have you ever envied someone else's entire life? Did you want to be born in someone else's shoes? Tell us in the comments. I often spied on them, and one day, my mother caught me doing it. She scolded me, of course, because it wasn't decent, and at the same time, she forbade me to communicate with them. She immediately did not like them. She thought they looked down on us. I think she just got me in a hot spot. Money was tight again, my father was getting less, and I was out of work. And then, the neighbors saved us. They suddenly appeared on the doorstep with a pie and said that they urgently needed a nanny. And my mother, who just couldn't stand them, immediately fell in love with them. And she agreed to their offer, even forgot to ask me. Although, I would never have turned down the chance to visit their house. You can't imagine what a beautiful and friendly family they have. Every morning, they had breakfast for everyone. Heartfelt conversations, kisses goodbye, no shouting. I only scolded Tiffany once. And then Susie took me aside and explained that it was better to do it differently, more gently. And she spoke politely to me. I thought I was going to get fired. I didn't have that as a child. Instead, I had to work in the garden, cleaning chicken droppings and running to work. Of course, I stayed up late at the neighbors, looking for something else to help. I didn't want to go home. I wanted it to be like my real family. At first, my mother was happy with my constant work, but then she started to get mad at my stories about the neighbors. I guess she was jealous, and it was my own fault, so I endured both the screams and the complaints. But then, she said that I should go to work at my uncle's apiary. We refused him for years because he had a payment every 4 months. I wasn't going anywhere, so I said I'd stay here and work. There was a row, and my mother was yelling so hard that my ears rang. She said a lot of nasty things to me, and then I burst out. I said that she didn't love me and that all she wanted from me was money. She told me that if I wasn't happy to earn my living, I could leave. I ran to Susie in tears and told her everything. She comforted me and said that my mother and I would make up, but she really should remember how to work on her own, and that they would soon be going to the city for a few months and could take me with them as a live-in nanny. That I could see the city and spend my salary only on myself. I wanted to start living on my own, and it was time for my mother to start living on her own. I called my father, who was not happy, but accepted my arguments. He said he believed that I would help them if they really couldn't do it on their own. For 6 months, I lived in a stranger's house, saving everything I could, and in fact, sending a lot to my parents. My mother never found a job. It was difficult for her to accept my choice, although we gradually made up. But I didn't go back. Sam and Susie encouraged me to look for another job, and I was able to do it. Now I even have enough to rent an apartment. Life is getting better. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss new interesting stories.